So again, back in the scene, we're going to modify the scene length, put it out to 500. So I've gone and eliminated what was there before, and I'm now back to just setting up my scene as with no audio. I'm going to do a little animation first and then bring the audio in and see how we can adjust the duration of that. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to animate the slug coming in. Now right here inside my camera view, I do have this option. If I click that, it clips what's outside so we can get a better sense of how things look outside our scene, because sometimes it's hard to see that edge. But now that we know where that is, I'm going to just click it off so we can see that faint edge. So that's the edge that I am going to be animating to. Now when I go into the slug here, I'm going to open up the slug's head, and with this we have the slug's head, front, and profile. So with this I'm going to do a little animation work here, and I want to start out with the profile view, not with the front view. So with that, what we're going to end up doing is eliminating, actually let's be faster just to click here on the front view of the head, and we'll go somewhere further out in the timeline and hit delete, so we just have the profile view of the slug going. But because the slug has a peg for both heads, when we move or animate that, it's going to move all of it. But first we're going to be just animating the whole slug in. So with the slug right here on this first frame, I'm going to make sure that there's a keyframe on everything, so function F6, and now I'm just going to move out in time and grab my transform tool to animate this. So I'm going to move it in so we can see how it now moves in. And now I'm going to go over a couple frames and just pull it back a little bit, and then I'm going to go and pull it in a little more, go over a couple frames, pull it back a little bit, and then allow it to come forward. So we have some basic movements going on. We can see how it's animating. Now as I do that, what I want to do is to click the head here, and with the head I am going to now pull it down a little bit so we can see how the head goes down, and now it will be here at this point. We'll pull it up. So I start to get this kind of head movement, and as it goes back, I'm going to pull the head down. So we're kind of creating this compression. And now as we come forward, we'll pull it up. As we go back, we'll pull it back down and back a little bit. And then here, we'll pull it up almost to the full, and then go over 2 frames and let it settle down. Now when we do that, we can start to see how it's moving into the scene. So it's a little bit quick, but that's going to be okay for what we need, because now we want to have them start talking. Now what I want is, once the character is getting close here, this is where I want the other character to turn its head, but I don't want it to be looking forward here. I want it to be looking to the side. So let's go back to the first frame of Beardo here, and I'm going to get rid of the front face through here, so I can just delete those frames. We'll go in and turn on the profile face. But he's looking at it right now, and I don't want that. I want the profile head to be looking the other way. But under animation, we see there's an option called flip. We also see it as a keyboard shortcut of the number 4. So if I just hit number 4 on the keyboard, it flips it. Now I've flipped it, but that position's a little off, so I'll just move his head over here. And now when this is coming up, right here, getting close, this is where I want it to flip back. So with that head selected, and I can just hit 4, it flips back. Adjust the placement a little bit. Now let's see. Whoa, okay, wait, that's not quite what we want. And that's because our keyframe is a motion keyframe. But if we set the keyframe not as a motion keyframe, but as a stop motion keyframe, so it doesn't tween it, it will hold on this position and then it will immediately snap to that next one. We can do that in our timeline right here. Again, say stop motion keyframe. See the tween line disappeared. So now the head just pops when it comes over. So now that's putting us into a good position, and we can start to bring in some audio and work with this. Bringing the audio in, we'll import sound. So I can select my sounds. Now we can only bring in one at a time, so I'll first bring in Ricky. And that brings in the sound for Ricky, and then I'm going to import sound, and this time I'm going to bring in Simone. And now we can see that they start at the beginning, and I don't really want that. I want the conversation to start here at frame 30. So I need to bump all of these over. Well, we can do that pretty easily if I double click on the sound layer, on the icon, not on the word, and it brings this up. Now it tells me, hey, what frame are we starting on? Well, we can move it. I'm going to, well, let's not grab the CTI, let's move this, and now I can see how this is moving over. 28, 29, 30. Okay, that starts it at frame 30. Apply, close. And now we can see that moved it over. Now let's go into Simone and move Simone over. So, oh, wrong thing there. Double click and pull this over as well, 29, 30. All right. So now we've moved them both over. So we essentially have added in some empty frame at the beginning of our animation. Now, we do have other options that we can explore once we have this going on, where we can take frames of audio and move them into an empty or new sound layer, because if we look in the timeline, we'll see we can add an empty sound layer. Then if we do that, we can use that portion to be the part we want to set our mouth animation to. So we can move it over, but if we know that we don't need our sound to start at the beginning, it makes sense to do it this way as our opening beginning part. But we do need to track our sound and or map the sound. So I can right click on the sound, lip sync. So we'll do our detection. And the sound for Ricky is going to be under lip sync. We'll map that. And we have to do it twice, but this will be the slug mouth front. And then I'm going to repeat that again, lip sync, map. And this will be slug mouth profile. Okay. And now we can see it turn that layer back on. It added in the frame, so we'll have to delete that visibility on it. Now with Simone, lip sync, auto detection, completed. Repeat, lip sync, map. This time it will be mouth front. And now we see it added, it made that come back into view, and that's okay. And then we will go lip sync, map lip sync, mouth profile. So we do have to do some adjustments of what we're seeing, because see, you know, the mouth is there and we don't need that. So I'll start out, I'll first just go into the slug with the head here, and we will work on those layers. So I'm going to just adjust my visibility. So I don't want to see here. So here we have the slug mouth. we're not seeing it. And boom, now we can see that we do have the front. So we need to get rid of the front if it's going to be talking right there. So I'll just highlight that and hit delete and it goes away. And now we have our first line of dialogue. If I turn on scrubbing, that's why there's the S in front of the speaker.
The fork.
And we have to figure out, so if we do with the fork, as soon as that ends that, I'm going to switch and just let the next line of dialogue for Ricky be the other view. So this time we want to switch to the front view right here. So I'm just going to say at line frame 70. So from 70 onward, let's get rid of the profile one. So I can delete that. So we go from profile
Backwards.
So you can see how that allows us to perform our turn by controlling which frames are and are not visible. Repeating that process for our bearded wonder. So we can go through, get a head turn. Oh wait, hey look, there's the mouth showing up. Well, we don't really want to see that anymore. So let's go into Beardo and control which one we are seeing. And it added the front mouth. We don't want the front mouth there.
I hate you.
So here, I don't want any of that front, so we're going to get rid of all of that as well. So we're just on the profile.
The fork.
I hate you. I hate you.
Now, as we do that, I can even take this head.
The fork.
And what I'm going to do is just put a little keyframe on here. So I want to just throw some little rotation movements into it. So I'm going to just add in a keyframe right here. Previous keyframe will be stop motion. But now from this keyframe forward, I want to just, as it's the I hate, I'm going to have the head move up just a hair and do a little rotate. And at this point, I want to pull it back up.
I hate you.
So now if we watch this in real time, now we've got to turn on sound for normal, not just for scrubbing.
I hate you.
So we've added in a little bit of movement to make our character more engaging as we watch it. And what needs to happen is we now just continue this process as we work our way through the rest of the timeline.
I hate you.
Which I kind of like. As we're being told I hate you, then we have the slug turns its head, almost looking out at the audience going, oh, well, that's not very nice. So now let's go see what our next lines of dialogue are going to be here. And we need to simplify and get down to only one head because now both heads are here. So maybe we'll let the beard head come back. So right there, yeah, that's a decent, looks like that we'll have to pull the face front and pull it down so it's going to be in the same alignment. So we'll be able to go from here to here. And then that means at this point, we will want to make that head disappear. So, so for likewise, I think I want to go back on the slug to the other head. So for likewise, so
She hates you.
so right in here, this is where we're going to swap the slug head back. And one of the things when we're doing this is we sometimes will have to add back in those keyframes. So we see that's mouth B, this is X, that is X. So if I switch back after deleting more than I realize now I should have, what I want to do is I will put all of this in here and, well, got to do one layer at a time. So the mouth here, we'll just go to an X mouth, and then the head only has one option, so we'll put the head back on. But now in these frames, with that selected, we can just go to the B mouth, and now that plays the B mouth. Then I can go here with the head, kick that out of there.
Backwards.
And this process is just something that you have to continue to keep working your way through the timeline. Now I'm going to leave some of these where they're facing forward because in the next step I'm going to be utilizing the camera view as a way to further adjust what we're focusing on. So I'm going to leave some of these front ones facing here. Now at this point we have both heads showing, so we do need to continue to do some work here as we figure it out. Now these, like here where Beardo's not speaking, this makes it really easy to decide if I'm going to do a front or a profile view. But here I don't want to have to change those keyframes around, so then that could be problematic as we do it, because when we delete things, then it takes some effort to bring them back. And if I just choose map lip sync, it adds all the mouth back across the whole timeline, so I will have to then go back and do a bunch of clearing out at that point. Now one thing I can do, let's say at this point where we're seeing both heads, so we were on the front, I want to go to the profile while it's speaking. So I'm going to delete some of these frames here. So I'll delete that. So now we can see how it becomes the profile view. And now it can even go back to front, so I could even delete these frames out of here. But if you're like, oh crap, I don't want that, I want it to go the other way. Well, one thing about the keyframes, or not the keyframes, the drawings, is because the drawings have the same labeling going on here. So this mouth is, A through G plus X. So this other layer has A through G plus X. So if I were to take all of these things here, highlight them, copy that, and now click right here and paste, we'll see that it puts it in. And I don't have to manually go back and start figuring out which mouth I need to show where. So as long as I don't delete both layers of my talking head, I'm going to be able to keep whatever I need for animation purposes, because we're changing all of the position, rotation, scale, etc. through pegs. So all we're doing on the drawings is controlling which drawing is being shown. And because the drawings correspond with their naming structure, we can copy and paste between appropriate layers here.
Yeah, I heard that one. What else is new?
All right, so at this point, I can decide which head I want to go with, and I'm going to, oh, and I think that might just be a blip one. Let's see.
You mind?
Yeah, it's a little just blip, but yeah, we'll leave it. It adds some expression. It's some awkward looking character there. So let's just delete right through here. So I'm just going back and forth between.
Yeah, I heard that one. What else is new?
You mind?
Yeah,
So that gives me a start there. Now let's go back to Beardo. So Beardo is here. And then this is the profile. So I'm going to take on the non-profile and let's just delete that. So we know that it's profile.
I heard that one. What else is new?
You mind?
Let's figure out what is being said in this next segment.
You mind? You mind?
So I think I like that in the profile view. So we'll get rid of that as well.
You didn't know the other night.
Let's see what's next.
What night?
And for that, I'm going to turn that.
What night?
We're going to let that become frontal. So we'll delete out of here. Oh, don't want to get rid of the body. Just want to get rid of the head parts. So if we play
other night.
What night? What are you talking about?
and then get rid of that. That's one too many. Gonna match, line things up.
What are you talking about?
And let's go back into our slug.
You mind?
How come you didn't come?
So I'm going to get rid of the front here. So I'll just delete these out of here. Let's get rid of all of that. So we end up with,
What are you talking about?
Don't.
and then we'll let this one become a front view. So we'll get rid of what's back there. So we end up with this kind of this back and forth with the characters. And we're almost done, so we might as well kind of finish it out. So let's see.
Don't.
And let's get rid of some more of the side view. And then we will finish it. We will finish with the front view for the Bearded Wonder. And looks like we have, we don't need quite this many frames, so we'll probably shrink down our scene length, I think, to about 340 because that's where it ends. And we'll leave the front one here. Or even just an even 350 as part of it. So modifying our scene length, we'll just go down to 350. And then that gives us the fullness of it. So now if we play the whole scene.
With the fork.
I hate you.
Likewise.
You're a Twinkie.
Yeah, I heard that one. What else is new?
You mind?
How come you didn't come out the other night?
What night? What are you talking about?
Don't play dumb. You know.
All right. So we're in good shape. We have a lot of things going on. We're controlling which view of the character's head that we're seeing, we can now go back really and start adding in some animation to the heads or even the bodies, so we can move things around a little bit to add in a little bit more expressiveness like what we've done at the beginning. It's just we need to go through and start doing more of that. But all in all, it's off to a good start.